Hey Barton, how are you, my friend?
I'm good. How are you?
Hey, I'm good. I feel like I'm a little early to the party.
Oh, that's fine. I'm so last couple days we had a reading yesterday too. I've been having some technical issues because I am no longer allowed to use my work PC
Okay.
because they found out I was doing this, so I haven't
Oh,
using a
dang.
different
I hope
different
the repercussions of that are manageable, my friend.
Hey, it's worth it. It's worth it. It's fine.
Hey, for poetry, right?
Yeah, yeah. So
No
so
doubt.
yeah, we uh but I think I have it figured out now. So
Cool,
I
man.
think I think we'll be good. I'm on a different PC. Options are a little different, but I think we'll
Hey,
be able to plow through here.
right on, man. Right on. Yeah, I was at a reading yesterday here in Tucson, and I'm just kind of noting like differences and similarities in kind of venues from like the digital and like the in the flesh.
Yep.
And it's interesting how it seems like just the circumstances or the dynamics are never like ideal, but somehow folks just uh keep it moving and adapt.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, especially if you're working with poets, they're all a pretty forgiving bunch.
No
Uh,
doubt, man. No doubt. That's huge. Generosity, man.
yep, yep, absolutely, absolutely. So,
Doubt.
um, and if they're not, then maybe they shouldn't. Maybe they're in the wrong profession. So.
It's a yeah, it's a learning opportunity perhaps.
Yeah. Yeah, I was just pretty annoyed because the first two went without a hitch, and I was like, I'm not going to keep doing this if I can't give people a good platform um and a good space. And then yesterday we had some issues, but I don't think anybody noticed except me, but I was like, I wouldn't be asking people to take part in something that I wasn't prepared for. So it's a
I
little
feel
annoying
that.
that I did all this preparation, and then at the last minute everything changed, and I was like, I don't like that. But
I
yeah,
see it,
well,
man.
it's a
Well,
good
hey, man,
learning.
keep the faith, keep the
Yeah,
faith. You're doing a really good thing here, man. So, yeah,
absolutely.
just it's just a great thing to experience.
Yep. Thanks for being here.
Hey, thank you.
Hey Pamela, how you doing? Good to see you.
Hi,
Thanks
I'm
for
good.
Yeah,
Uh,
thanks for being part of this. We'll see.
yeah, I appreciate you. I've got my kid and my dog and my cat are in the room with me, and
Okay.
right now everyone is quiet, so I'm sure that the the dog and cat will need to start wrestling immediately as soon as I start reading, but
All right.
that's
Awesome.
how it
Yeah.
usually goes.
Yeah. Well, we'll get you up first, and then maybe we can hit that sweet spot.
Okay.
Uh, but so yeah, we'll probably give everybody till about 3:05 to get in here. I didn't really have anybody yet sign up for the open mic. So you know, uh, gives people time to come on and maybe email me. But yeah, if anybody's interested in the open mic, just drop it in the chat. We'll try to get to you after the two features are in.
Hey, Barton, while I figure out and relearn how to use this Zoom, I just want to say, I'd like to get a spot on open mic, please.
Okay, awesome, absolutely. Yep, I'll call it you'll be called first.
Hey, right on. Cheers.
So far,
Oh,
you're the
here it
only
is.
one. So
Hey,
I'd be
oh,
oh
sorry.
yeah,
Oh,
nope,
I'm
nope.
curious, man. I love the new email handle. I'm wondering where that if like where it came from, if it's got any connections or is it a random thing or
It's actually kind of it's actually a line from one of my own poems, so I'm completely plagiarizing myself. The name of this reading series was actually going to be the Blue Jawed Snake reading
okay.
series, but I felt that was a little abstracted and wouldn't pull uh, readers in. So I'd already had the email set up. So
Hey, right
yeah,
on.
yeah, yeah. So it's one of those things where you're like, I had a good idea, and I don't think it was a good idea, but like I'm not going to do any more work. Um,
I'm
so
with it,
yeah,
man.
yep,
Less work, less work. I can endorse that.
yeah.
No, I brought it up because I'm reading a book by Archie Fire Lame Deer, and he has a whole chapter about snakes and how basically how they're seen like culturally as like sacred. I'm trying not to say things, but they're seen as sacred,
Oh,
sacred
okay.
connections to the spirit world, basically. So,
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I think that I mean, I don't, yeah, I don't, I grew up on a farm in a small town, and that we kind of moved into. We didn't do any farm work. I'm not a farm hand or anything, but we saw a lot of snakes and
hey,
a lot
right
of,
on.
so yeah, it's kind of a Midwestern, like, visual, kind of thing. So, as sacred as those things are, maybe, uh,
Hey,
uh,
cool.
with, Americans have actually uh, don't actually have history or ruins. So we
Hey, tell it, brother. Tell it.
make it up as we go. So,
Sure, man.
um, hi B, how are you? Good to see you. Thanks for saying yes. Um, to taking part in this. We're gonna give everybody till about 3:05, then we'll get started. Basically, Pamela's gonna read first, then B will read second, and we'll go we'll go from there. I'll kind of explain more of the layout at 3:05. I had a couple emails late asking me for the link, so I think we're gonna have a couple more people joining, a couple more people maybe for the open mic as well. So past that, everybody just gets to look at my face, look confused for a little bit. That's all. 3 more minutes, it'll be over. Yeah, as I was telling Daniel earlier too, we did two of these with no hitch at all, and then my workplace found out I was using my work PC to do the readings. So the last one had yesterday had some technical issues, only because I am used to using my own PC for all of this with different. It looks differently. So today's the first day I think it's going to go well from this new PC. And But any hiccups are completely my fault, and hopefully we still get a good place for people to see and hear and et cetera, et cetera. But so I think we'll go ahead and get started. Basically, welcome to the fourth installment of the I Can't Speak for Everyone Here reading series. Started this kind of as a series for writers, people who have written, are writing, or who I feel should be writing. Though poetry is my way of kind of translating that graffiti that peppers my silence into my chosen vandalism. This is a writer's space, so poetry does not have to be the only thing that happens here. Vignettes, silences, singing, excerpts from novels and stories, that kind of thing can all occur here as well. People can read for as long or as little as they like. It's your space. Also, anyone can duck out at any time due to actual life happening or unhappening or your comfort level. Um, Feel free to turn on your video if you'd like at any time. As far as the audio goes, keep that off during the readings, unless you see something that I'm doing or not doing that needs to be, spoken towards. You can definitely unmute and say stop or whatever. Um, Beyond that, you can direct any messages, any for the open mic. You can direct anything to the open chat to the chat. We'll try to get you there on the open mic. Afterward, if you have any questions, requests, comments, or whatever, you can direct those to bluejawedsnake@gmail.com. That's in the chat as well. Basically, the layout will be I'll introduce our first reader, which will be Pamela, second reader, which will be B, um, and they'll read. And after that, I'll have a question for each of them, which I did not warn them about. So hopefully they're okay with being asked a question. And after that, we'll get to the open mic. And with that, I think we'll go ahead and get started. First reader is going to be Pamela Kesling. Pamela Kesling grew up in a hole in the woods in central Appalachia or Appalachia. I have a West Virginian friend who says Appalachia, even though he's been corrected that it's Appalachia, and he knows more than anybody else. So both of those things are true. Anyway, she grew up with mostly her sisters and books for companionship. She taught herself to read at 3 years old and read voraciously from that point on. Over the years, she has written magazine articles, newsletters, tours and brochures, and lots of marketing copy. Today, her personal focus is on poetry about the complexities of life in Appalachia, much of which is inspired by the natural world surrounding her. She occasionally dabbles in short stories as well and has a novel perpetually in progress. By day, she works in business development for a mid-sized regional law firm. She earned her bachelor's degree in English literature from West Virginia Wesleyan College and an MBA from Marshall University. She has been published in the Vandalia and Metro Valley magazine. I came to Pamela's writing or languaging of her art actually through COVID music events, when because of my son's disorder, my family had to live inside and online for a very long time. From there, I found some of her poems, some of their poems uh, that were all about place and kind of positioned somewhere between ask and answer. And then I also came across a quote of hers that said, "Watch for deer is West Virginian for I love you." And from there, Midwestern Ohio and deer, I was on board. Um, and with that, I'm super excited for you to hear Pamela read. I'm going to go ahead and take the spotlight off myself and mute my.
Thank you very much. I have not really done a lot of this. I do have gosh, I haven't been writing a whole lot lately, but I have probably I have over 500 pages of nonsense that I've written over the last decade, and a few of them are on my website, but most of them are not. So you said 15 to 30 minutes. I think I'm around 20 minutes here. I tried to pick some variety of topics and types of poems that I've written over time. So we'll see how it goes. My first one is called On Beauty. I wanted to write something beautiful, so I looked around and tried to capture the splendor of the sun, the essence of a spring blossom, the cadence of a robin, the nature of a cloud. But perhaps beauty cannot be caught, or perhaps I don't have the skill. Perhaps beauty lies only in the brevity and untamable wildness of a moment when your soul gets tangled up with the elemental and mysterious, and it is you, your breath, that gets caught instead. jumping around different topics and time periods. My next one is called How It Will Be. Sometimes when I think of you, of being with you, I know exactly how it will be, moving together in slow motion. I know because of the way my body burns when I think of you, because of the way I feel it from one end to the other. I know it will be a slow dragging of our bodies across one another, skin to breath to bone, like how the black snake yearns its weight across the dusty August ground, like how the sun raises the dew and shimmers it humidly above the fields. I know you are made of earth, the rocky clay soil of the mountains, and I will bury myself in you, like lowering into piled up pine needles soft on the forest floor, and you will touch me, caresses like wildflowers, like a black-eyed Susan, unflinchingly. You will want to please me, but I will forget to allow it at first, until I lose myself entranced in you, and the way your skin feels like summer against my lips and against my cheek, and possibly soft, hot, trembling. Um, I don't think that's one I've ever shared anywhere before. And for the record, I don't typically share anything publicly about a person until that person is no longer in my life. So I'll put that out there, with the exception of I do have one in here about my son, who obviously is very clearly still in my life. So I'll get to that one. This next one is a lot of my poems. I think I just go out in my yard and I take pictures of things, and then I write a poem about the thing that I saw. So this one is called First Buds. Every February, when the world is still more dark than light, these tiny shoots begin green nosing up through the frozen ground of my forgotten beds, pushing aside piles of leaves left unattended through the dark months. And I fret and worry over them. Will they survive the freeze and the deer? Will they bloom? But while I sit wrapped in my blanket, armored against icicles menacing my bones, they quietly and bravely seek the sun, and every year, without mind to me, come through, purpling and pinking the garden. I'm tangled up in my old lady wired earbuds here. Okay, the next one is called We Are the Thing We Love. I have been thinking about how everything and everyone we will ever see or meet or experience was birthed from the same Big Bang, how all the material that makes us up came from the same source, how we are made of the same atoms as our ancestors and our great, great, great grandchildren, and the dying rabbit that fed the earth, that fed the grass, that fed the cow, that fed us. And with every inhalation, every bite of every meal, we are taking in the elements that both make us new and connect us to antiquity. And with every exhalation, every drop of sweat, we let go a piece of the universe that flowed through us and allow it to continue its journey through another being. We walk around under an illusion of separateness, but the truth is we are all one flowing, interconnected body. And I think if we really recognize this, we would all be walking around in reverence and awe of every blade of grass, every creature, every brick in the wall of the building in which we sit. If we truly understood that the same collection of atoms that make up what we in this moment are conscious of as a body and a self are the same atoms that have once been part of a star and a dinosaur and a Shawnee boy and our grandmothers and even the young mother we meet in the grocery store or the old man playing guitar at the bar, and that everywhere we go, we are taking in a piece of everyone around us and gifting parts of ourselves likewise, we would perhaps cease to be so fearful of one another. We would no longer try to build walls to keep others out, because we would understand the fiction and fruitlessness of that concept. Perhaps we would instead be filled with a greater love for one another and for ourselves. We would recognize that we can love ourselves as much as whatever or whomever else we love, because we are the thing we love. And we would recognize that we can love one another as we love ourselves, because they are us. My next poem is called Winter Noticings. I determined this year to not hate the winter, to not hunch my shoulders against the cold. I want to feel into it and accept the beauty that this hard season tries to offer me. How disappointed winter must be at our hiding and slunking away. In this freezing time of year, simple bones and roots become borscht, a shock of magenta startling a hibernating spirit into noticing magic, like tiny bird feet scratched into fresh powder on the porch, little arrows pointing the way to dance through gray and frosty days. Today I saw a barred owl unexpectedly by the river, seated imperially in a low branch, its russet and white feathers fluffed close, colored exactly the way snow mottles the dead oak leaves that still hang from the tree in my backyard. Then I saw a gathering of geese padding about on their naked feet along the riverbank. Later, the small boy and the dog and I watched the lively cardinals through the window as they hopped and sang in bare bushes. I don't think the birds hate the winter either. So I will move from winter to summer for my next one. And this you mentioned I very much grew up in central, I say Appalachia. Um, so this one is called Barefoot. When your toes hang out the holes in your Kmart canvas shoes, it's much nicer to run barefoot down the gravel driveway, squish mud puddles, avoid the tadpoles between your toes, and race through fresh cut grass, sink your feet in the soft, cool dirt under the elderly maple, and learn where not to run too. Hop around the chestnut burrs, don't needle your feet before climbing into the low spreading branches. Dag, whoop, and steer clear of the plum altogether, with its forest of 3-inch babies daggering up from the surrounding ground and bark that will tear off your skin. Beware the clover patch and its resident bees. And oh, the same goes for the apple trees and anywhere the dog has been, less for sting and more for stink. When you can't afford the store and you have to stay at home, it's nicer to forget about your shoes and run around outdoors. And it's funny, you were talking about snakes earlier, so I did actually have one here about snakes on my list. Um, it's called Snakes. My mother never liked snakes. Once I saw her shoot 2 black snakes right out of a tree. They were writhing and weaving together in the branches, hanging entwined, making love, but she was not fooling around. Another time, she emptied a pistol into one that had the misfortune of wandering through her yard, 5 shots out of 6 on target. And then she grabbed a garden hoe, chopped it up, and drug its remains out to the driveway to ensure its annihilation under her tires. I'm not so sure that snake was the one she was angry with. And the next one is called The Appalachian House. What a marvel the way industrious Appalachians have long managed to plop their homes on the side of any available hill, propped up and held stationary by wood beams, cement, and magic. Generation after generation, the houses stand, bold against gully washers and blizzards, defying nature and common sense. Through bare winter trees, you see them, red and brown and gray, with impossible driveways and roof lines to match. Like the people here, the houses are boastfully rough, worn, often irrational, but standing strong against all odds. So I'm move a little away from Appalachia, my childhood, to, I don't know, some my attempts at philosophy, I guess. This one's called Between the Lines. The lines that form our existences, that describe the borders between our reality and unreality, our understanding of the world we walk in, are faint, blurry, ephemeral. What do we know of the space between certainty and uncertainty, knowing and doubting, acceptable and unacceptable, trusting and questioning? Dividing each binary as an inconstant boundary, wavering, traveling along the continuum, pulsing, fading, expanding, intensifying. We construct limits, frames to shape our stories, but find our truths lie in the margins, between the lines, in the white spaces of our lives. My next poem is called Driving. Driving in my car, I feel it, that zone that both separates from the earth and from other people and connects me to a part of myself. Subtle vibrations of the motor humming, wheels turning, the car a reflection of my own state, or is it the reverse? Slow driving rhythms from the radio move me in place while I move to a place different, familiar along this worn path, this highway I have traveled many times before, every time the same and every time slightly changed. Rolling, smoothly turning, arms outstretched, cruise control set. I'm in control and relinquishing control, following the road between the lines in a direction determined by someone else a long time ago, but I acquiesce, I flow. And so I have a few more that are a little darker. This next one is called Burning Sage. Burning sage smells like California to me. Road trips and broken dreams, trying to hold on to something, something just out of reach, a desperation to make it right, to make it work, a decoration for the violence of your angry love. Cheap motel rooms in the darkness of some coastal town far from home. I hope I am still able to leave in the morning when you've sobered up. Burning sage smells like a promise we both know is as solid as the smoke and ash on the end of the bundle and is likely to last. Moments of joy underscored by anxiety, new vintage clothes to keep you happy, and another swipe of my credit card, smiling at the sequoias and screaming into pillows. This one is called Starburn. How many times have I been burned and still I seek the sun? The brilliant glow that fiery tempts, the hostile orb that stuns, that lights the world but cannot see and we can never touch. Yet when it's gone, I'm searching still, yearning for its warmth. No other star will burn as bright, nor comfort me so well. No other star does give us life, nor darkness does dispel. Um, my next poem is called In Descent. I questioned whether I wanted to include this one, but I don't know, I decided maybe it was okay. In Descent. They tell me all my tension is in my neck. I know why. My body knows. Decades of holding fast the words, the screams. I have a necklace for Justice Ginsburg and the collar she wore when she dissented. And now I wear my own dissent around my throat to say the truths that have been caught there, to speak for me where my words have gotten stuck, where I have been silenced or talked over. To make sacred my voice, the words and the scream pushed down when I was strangled and even then couldn't make a scene. The scream I held inside when I couldn't escape those boys. The scream I kept to myself when his pleasure was more important than my pain. The scream I didn't wake the others with when I woke to find a man on top of me, uninvited. When I was told my thoughts were wrong, my existence was wrong, less than. My body was not my own. I have never screamed. I do not shout. Even my singing is too loud. This dissent, this I do not consent to the using of my body, to the conquering of my body, to the colonizing of my body, the claiming it as the property of another, of a man, of the government. The words I could not say when I was good, the words I would not say when I thought I belonged to another, to anyone but myself, when I wouldn't cause a scene, disrupt the peace, when I didn't know I was allowed to scream. I dissent, I do not consent. I am sovereign here. And on a much lighter note, this next one is one that just a short and sweet poem that I wrote for my kid. I called it Light of My Life. Your butterfly breath, crumpled up leaves in your hair, my little wood nymph, climbing in the trees and running like a ninja, my heart can't keep up. Ginger in your hair, cinnamon sprinkling your nose, my sweetest pumpkin. This one is called Autumn Mornings. And the cool mornings when the hollows haven't yet given up their grasping onto summer's humidity, and the fog waits along the creek bed to see if the sun will rise to scooch it away. Those of us who know listen for the deer grunting along the tree line and the crows calling to one another of the latest garbage pile jackpot. In the raucous stillness of early fall, these hills rest with breath held, teetering between summer's sweltry languor and winter's frenetic iciness, waiting to know from which direction the first men will push their way through fallen leaves to claim a piece of the silence for themselves. Soon the deer will be fewer in number, and the crows will be well fed from sustenance richer than garbage piles. Soon the earth will take back what once it birthed to us. Soon we, too, will dissolve like the fog. I think the next couple are maybe a little more uplifting. This one is called Love Is. Life is an experiment in love, an everyday unveiling of the infinite universe without and within, humans, animals, trees, galaxies, and a learning to care for all unselfishly, appreciation of the beingness of all that surrounds us, of all that is, and to support the health of each, physical, mental, and spiritual health so entwined, stars, grains of sand, blades of grass, molecules, freckles, fingernails, moonbeams. Love is, love is, love is. I think I have two more. This one is called Reincarnated, Reunited. Some connections reverberate softly across distance and space, wending through the ether to rejoin an unseen other. When we met, I recognized you bodily, viscerally, my atoms greeting yours with a happy wave and a welcome back hug. Perhaps my blood and your bones were once the same Patriofelis, succumbed to worms and distributed across the continent, now recognizing its parts reunited, seeking to reassemble, to reconvene as one body heaving across the now unfamiliar landscape. Perhaps you were once a great elm, and I, the earth that fed you, rose up through your roots and filled you with sap until together we reached the clouds before we fell. Maybe you were Cleopatra, and I the bathwater clinging to your skin, soaking into your pores as you prepared yourself for seduction and rule. I wonder, does time truly move in a circle? And if it does, do we return to one another again and again in different forms? And if so, what then will we next become? Are we I or we or you, or maybe we are God and God is us and you are breath and I am light, and maybe this is what it means to love another as oneself. Okay, this is my last one. I don't know why it's been one of my favorites since I wrote it 7 years ago, I think, something like that. It's called On a November Evening. The brilliance of November at dusk, hilltops lit up like a box of flaming matchsticks, burning brightly beneath rose gold and lavender clouds. I hope my dying is like a November evening, wrapped in a cozy, fiery glow, celebrating in quiet exultation the apex of life. As my season of frozen, silent stillness approaches, for death is but a season, I hope I throw my arms up in joy and shout, look what a glorious life I've led. Look how all I have grown and all I have created has brought me here. And as I near the end of my days, let me greet them with purpose, with reverence, and give back myself to the earth in thanks for all she has given me and how she has nurtured me and allowed my blossoming, my fruiting. That's what I've got. Thank you.
Oh, thanks so much, Pamela. Thanks for being here, and that was amazing. I think it's interesting. I think as poets, we often, or as people, we often are like, hey, this is uplifting. This is not. This is when really writing or arting or whatever you do blurs that line, right? So uh, the uplifting poem about your child um is something that devastates actually and guts, and then other such things about your voice being taken and this and that is can be seen as somewhat uplifting because here you are saying those things um out loud, in a voice that continues to spite. So um, I think that kind of speaks to the the why of the whole thing. So thank you so much for being here and for the reading, and that was amazing. But yeah, so uh, moving on. Next reader is B. Morris. B. Morris is the author of Notes on Qualia from Bottle Cap Press 2023. Their published work can be found in various online and print journals, including Poet Lore, Salamander Magazine, Underblong, and Landfill. They reside in San Francisco. I came to B's work just through Instagram and mutual friends. Their collection, Notes on Quelia, I just thought was a cool fucking title. And I was like, so then I looked up some of their work. Um, and the what I found online, I just love the way that it kind of whittled sound into a sort of de-listening that left this sort of music that gave all its own mouth. And when I started this series, I was gonna reach out to um, persons that that I went and looked for and found that looking to give me visions. And B was one of those writers. So I'm super excited for you to hear B read, and with that, I'll give them the spotlight.
All right. Thank you so much for that introduction. Hello, everyone. So I'm going to start out with a few unpublished poems from a manuscript I'm working on currently. These are some prose poems. And then after that, I'm going to go into some other poems I've been writing, and then I'll do a selection finally from Notes on Qualia, which was published by Bottle Cap Press last year. So I'll start with this one called The Gift of Salad. This is calling to you from my shelf. These are my traits, commercially appealing. This is studying how to set a mood free. I like you here, out of the blue, touching me with all your senses, to be teased for other pleasures, to be leased for 14 months. I've returned to the seeking of cures after filling myself to brim with an unfeasible erotics of emotion. Once I wrote a song about chopping tomatoes. My knife fell hard on the downbeat as a drum. I gave myself the gift of salad and consumed. Next up, this one is called Eyelids Click Together Like Silverware. Language became voluptuous and pulsing under me. Language was wet and laughing. I wanted to overcome its imprecision. I wanted to pin it to a cork board. I wanted to swim in it, knowing my feet could still touch the bottom. I looked to the tops of trees with greenish faces turned to the sun. I turned my face to the sun and became no more steadfast. My skin was countless shades away from green. You do have autonomy, the word said to me. I came to art with a shattered need. I walked myself over its constant, uneven ground. I couldn't stand to represent anything, but I sat down and told my truth. I asked a literary question. I was fixated on a theme. Is the more human thing to write or to be written? I belonged to the margins in multiple ways. I trained words to be acrobats of pleasure. I begged questions to release the unsayable. Then the word confided in me its secret desire to be more like a picture. As for me, I am photographs aligned in the shape of a life. That one's one of my favorites. Okay, this one is called Perspective Study. It's good to lie a little in the dark, a movie on. Orchestra can have a violin. Are there more poems or more horses named February? For our whole lives, we are unborn trees. Mystery is no enemy of light, just a darker question. To think it is one thing. To really want your head in my lap or have it another, a garden confessing its violet affairs. In the dream, you call to me, a string of words like a jeweled necklace. I zoom in on you. I view your properties. From out of the God in the machine, a technological anointedness, I stretch to reach the top shelf of you. That our souls can emanate loving, that to dream is life's refrain, that a bird can gaze upon a stone and miss its paperweightness completely. This one is called How It Ends. The lights are going down, but you're laughing, not praying. The trash can full of dead roses feels love. Swaddled in angles, how shaded this valley, how profound this mortal terror. To trust in love is to accept the flimsy concurrence of our becomings. But in the dappled grass, the martyred leaves look hushed, the bits of sun like an armistice. A kind of jay. Saturday mornings in the city, the prospect of a personal utopia, replacing words and songs with your name. Various lives of which were containers. The cat knocks something over in the other room. A kind of jay goes by, and its wings are blue, so blue. Kingdom of Love. Trees ramble down and over the hill, looking almost brunette in this quantity of light. The day is wet, making guesses at itself. Things in my life keep collapsing like this into patterns of time as though systems and codes. But that week I spent in the kingdom, love exists in such ways. And then this one, I think is going to be a good lead into my reading from Notes on Qualia. I'll read it first and then explain why, I guess. This is called Red Sensation. And the hours seem like summaries of days, the pour of earth, gleaming, attentive, gazing at a rose, the sensation in me recognizes sensation of rose in you, this an impetus that warns against becoming. The furtive axis of something half known, the world, the source of everything beyond the world. So essentially that poem, the line, the sensation of rose in me recognizes sensation of rose in you, is referencing the idea of qualia and subjective emotions and the fact that when I'm looking at a rose, I have a sensation of what the color red is to me, but who knows if that matches up to your sensation of red. And so when I was writing Notes on Qualia, a lot of my focus was the subjective feelings of what it feels like to be myself and how it feels to be a person, I suppose, and how I can access these universal ideas through my own private experience, I guess. So with that, I'm going to go into some poems from the chapbook. This is Casualties. When our foreheads dream of orange juice on weekends, I nod most impolitely. In lowercase, I ask to be raised up. The moons aren't what they seem. They seem like moons, or inedible melons, or naked lamps, indecently shadeless for all to see, things complicating in the heat. When my polished palms devour the smoothness of your legs, I express it. Digressing together is the whole good thing. Now, the mirror turns away my bad luck. A plant feeds me, and I forget to die. This is called Yes Tomorrow. From up here in the clouds' untainted wifery, there is an alwaysness to our splintering, ungendered and seeking a place to fully rewind. Like light against light, it is light, delineated only then by foreboding, a groaning floorboard barely touched, stranded below another soft heel. To alleviate the not sleeping, I threw a party only a pop song could understand. Back to you in studio. Way out here, our tongues crescent like real life. And how the dirt said to Sisyphus's bare feet, touch me again in a satire of poppies. You, golden hour to the rind, money voiced. If this pebble were more erotic, it would be called a petal. See how I'm queering the leaves on the trees for you. It was real, but now it's unspeakable. Dozens of mouth factories closing by the hour, a record high. Break open the rainy day miracle savings. Want you so bad it's tectonic, and I don't mean to say platonic. The sky is like a sky, it's not just blue. You aren't lost, lucky one, only in your new moon era. Meanwhile, if it weren't for all the water in my eyes, I could have counted all the ways the rain loved me. This one is called Everything is the World. The bird is a secret announcing itself. Variables and consonants may have something in common. The sky, at least, can write me back a moonbeam. All of these trees, if they wanted to, could laugh, could tell you the meaning of the image of the dress. It is romantic. It is the answer to love's question. I do my trick again, reiterating everything is the world. Days go by like pedestrians, and I allow them. Under clarity of night, I grow attached to a sacred cloud. My attention moves through space. I know I am my body's witness. I am also watched by what I have been watching. This one is called Fig. My figment was a fig, as in to be eaten. So much we cannot know by now as apparent, much to back rub, to listen from, the gore that makes this form a holiday. Have planted stolen fruit in my universe of things for safe and beauty keeping. Regardless the droplet, a moon man is safe in a mountain and triangles alight. Only what broadness is to size. Pensive stain on the collar of the world's work shirt, as war-torn as every photograph you don't look tired in. The genetic data of roses makes them beautiful. Meanwhile, a purple cloud is saying nothing to a pink cloud except, I love you in this color tonight, in this awesome wind. Um, this one is called Elegy for Everywhere. I wrote this um, kind of vaguely about a tragedy, and then in editing, it became about another tragedy. And it's one of those poems that just ends up being um, about, I guess, a sadness that compounds over time as you're looking at the state of the world and continuing to search for words um, that address how it feels to look at the world at any given time. Elegy for Everywhere. An ambiance of ambulances is as untranslatable as a seed head's fairy-like aeronautics. Understood as scent and petal, it is grief held back by a colander, giving off a blaring kiss of steam. Taut skull, nation at the grave to learn its thirst, open-fisted automatic, so to rack the wreath of peopling, clacking peace like a dandelion's blade skirt. Track the math through pupil feuds, this brink or another. It was cause for endless strumming, that attack. Blown away from paradise, the magnificent nomad flinched at every sound. This one is called Ice Cold Water. When you make me slow motional, it's a flirting. It's the plural of esophagus, and I do not want to help it, self-loved as I am. How will I rest? I will not. I will the kissed television, your face, my favorite face. How happy we are in our skins and even outside them. How lucky our skins are in this era of odd beauty. How black, queer, blessed I feel this morning, thinking ice cold water and drinking a view. All right, I'll just do a couple more here. Um, this one is Notes on Qualia, so technically the title poem. Oh, lingering the arm, the breathing of God, how sharpening this. And my atria are grandiose with laughter, meaning to taste oneself in the mouth of this sun is to be saddled with involuntary light. I once was a memory, only as doomed as men implicated in thrilling placebo with the flattened condition of April anyway. Because our language is an arrogant rosary, your eyes are two islands which reek of thirst. So I am changeable. I am walked through like a door. This one is called Scorpius. I feel just like a strummed guitar, headless and full of airy bones, light could be the daybreak. This is the end of it, reeling to contextualize the stunted growth of a flower. This, the new shape of literature. A screen, a subtitle sits there. Such unease makes my androgyny. I'm a fiend for the way you can't pronounce cumulonimbus, but you know the night sky by name. So you see it. We're not invisible. It's all transformation in the end. Things like magic and thunder coexist on this earth. We can stretch it so far. It is warm enough. It expresses. All right, and then I'll finish with this one, which is simply just called the poem. Out of belief, you're falling toward me, an arc, a jar, a field. The objects listed means the poem can turn and move on. Define forbidden, I find in me a semblance of thorns enunciated, picturesque. There is no end except the world. All right, thank you.
All right, hey, thank you so much. How fucking lovely was that? I just wanted to draw attention to Jesus, technological anointedness and ambience of ambulances. Number one, that number one and two. Actually, that was fucking beautiful. And how yeah, the struggle to look at the world, the imprecision of language, and how in the end we have to make matchmakers of ourselves. That was beautiful. Thank you so much, B. Um, so with that, I have a question I'm going to pose to both. We'll start with Pamela um, first. It's the same question for both. Um, I think in both of your writings, there's this kind of a stillness that discovers silence, if not for the first time, at least for the last time. Um, and I don't really believe in an artist finding their voice, but I do believe an artist can kind of hear how they sound through writing or however they language or art their expression. So my question for each would be, how do you lose your voice when you art or express? How do you lose your voice so you can kind of hear yourself? And that's kind of an abstract question, so you can just say whatever the fuck you want, if it's not wholly fair that I sprung this question on you. But yeah, we'll go ahead and start with Pamela.
That I don't know. That's not a thing I guess I've really had thought about. I do I do find that sometimes I write a lot of the same themes and I write a lot of and then I find I start using a lot of the same language. And when I hear that, you know, I don't know, I'm just like, okay, is there another way I can say this? Because I've already said this 6 different times, and I need to say something different. Um, how I do that, I don't know. I think just by fretting over it and then putting it away for a while. And but a lot of what I write, I kind of um, I don't do a whole lot of revising. I kind of write it once and then I might revise it a little, but um, I don't I don't like to spend if I have to spend too much time on it, then I think, well, this isn't working and I'll just put it away and I'll try something else later. So I don't know if that comes close to answering your question, but
Sorry, I was muted. No, that was perfect. I'm not even sure. I just like throwing things out there to see whatever. But I think it's interesting because I think like what we do is fleeting, right? And we think it's like with revision and with all these things, but the fret and the worry is the actual work. So regardless of how long it takes to write a poem or put something to paper, the fret and the worry is a constant. And so I think that we kind of I think sometimes the fleeting work of it can seem of the moment, but actually it's the fret and the worry that's the actual work. So thank you for that answer, and thank you for entertaining my um, abstract idiocy. And with that, I will also uh, pose that to be as well, and you can basically just say whatever you want because I know the question is uh,
Yeah, I think I have a similar answer as it relates to revision. I find that when I write, I write a lot in fragments, and then I'll go back and compile the fragments into a poem that I feel like says what I want it to say, or at least sounds the way I want it to sound. Um, but a lot of times, and I think what what I notice when I'm hearing my own work, reading it out loud, or working on it in any way, I notice that I'm always focused primarily on sound, and then the meaning comes as something secondary. Often I'm interpreting my own work just as much as someone who's reading my work is interpreting it. And that's why I think that when it comes to silence and the difference between saying something and saying nothing in poetry, I think it's the one space where both of those things can be equally powerful and meaningful. And in a lot of my poems, I'm maybe saying nothing, or I'm composing for rhythm rather than for sound, but in the end, something is being said of experience or subjective experience or qualia or something to that effect. Yeah, I hope that answered the question.
Yeah, that totally answered the question. I would say that like when I read your work, there's no reason for someone in my station in life and whatever to be able to be there with you. But when I'm reading your work, it's that's what it felt like. It felt like I was there figuring it out as well. And that's what I try to do with my own. Like I write in much the same manner, where it's like this sculpting, right? Where you're like, I don't know, I'll throw this whatever. I have some lines, I have some whatever, and I want to say something about the world. And then the sculpting, you look at it and you're like, that looks like how I saw it from the beginning, and it looks like you, or it sounds like you, and that's what art I think is. Probably got a little too crazy there, but yeah, thank you so much, both of you, for saying yes, and for uh answering my um uh question. With that, I think we'll go ahead and start with the open mic, which I think we have Daniel Siren um for the open mic first. I'll go ahead and put the spotlight on. I'm not super fast at this. Hold on. Spotlight. Oh yeah, you're there.
Thank you, Barton. Am I coming through on the mic all right? Okay, cool. Thank you, Barton. Thank you, Pamela. Thank you, B, for sharing your voices. Before I go kind of on the script, a couple things I just want to say. Barton, if you could do what I don't know if you're still doing this, but sending out the recording, like gems are being dropped. So I'm just like, I'm trying to soak it all up, and like, I'll want to reflect on what's being said and read, and appreciate that. And then, I guess my other note is I'm pulling up what I wrote earlier today is I don't know what this is that I'm sharing. It's just like some, I guess I won't put any adjectives on it, but I'll just leave it there that I don't know what this is yet. So here it goes. To younger poets, and also to poets who may identify with me as a peer, I'm urging you to seek out the work and find reverence, find respect for the work of the elders. What I'm learning upon finding and nourishing respect in this way, that it's possible for this reverence to return to the source from which it is given. Because it took me a long time to realize this, that in my community and my elders, they weren't always setting forth good or positive examples for many reasons. Oftentimes, I notice, or oftentimes they were forced or coerced into a struggle to survive within cruel and dehumanizing social and economic structures, which is not an excuse at all. But within that fact, I've found this worth striving for, in spite of the very real cruelties, in spite of the barbarities we're faced with individually and collectively. I found it worthwhile to strive to build and nourish a reverence and respect for the work of one's elders, to strive in honoring their survival and presence here with us. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Daniel. Yeah, absolutely. There's always those things where like I don't know what this is, but hey, it's going to be somewhere. And I do feel like even this act of reading or writing or even being in front of each other virtually is they're all acts of desperation under capitalism and structures that it's hard to know what we can do about those things, but hopefully everything is everything is a move toward removing the curtain of conditioning and um yeah. So if this is one small scream into the void of not being able to do anything of the state of the world as it is right now, it's something. It's an act, and it's resistance. So thank you for speaking to that, however abstractly or um whatever. And with that, did anybody throw it in the chat? Does I have anybody else for the open mic? I don't think I did, but if I missed somebody, throw it in the chat and I'll highlight you. 10 seconds. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Nope. All right. With that, I just want I was gonna jump in on the open mic real quick and just read a couple of things by a couple authors. And then I'll go ahead and get out of here. First one's going to be a small poem from Christopher Bernat from their collection, The Silent Crucifixion and Other Poems. Title of the poem is Shoebox Found Under Bed. A moth, a hypnotist, a museum on fire of fire. And that's it. And the second one's going to be from a collection by Kay Ivor. Collection's called Short Films Starring My Beloved's Red Bronco. Um, I would I would suggest everybody get a copy of this fucking book because it's amazing. Um, this poem is called Anti-Elegy. And I was only gonna read the first one, but then B's elegy poem made me want to chime in with this because this is anti-elegy. If you were here, the Mississippi would still run south, would still drop its griefs into the Gulf where our friends would still swim in summer. Water would touch us like water. If you were here, the river that is your body would not move magically, while it emptied from the bladder's headwaters. From tear ducts and pores, public officials would still turn the fact of your body into arguments. You might have struck the impossible surgery, a new name, your own boat, and someone beautiful to name it after. Someone beautiful and their baby. From one dorm room landline to another, your wish list sounded like a fairy tale like Grow eating a merman's fin between classes. I thought we were playing pretend when you said, "Good night, Tinkerbell," and I said the boy's name you wanted, Secret. Even then, strangers spoke to a boy when speaking to you. That was 20 years ago. The list already, a plan already gliding, an undercurrent sprung 20 years before that. If you were here, still drinking cold tea in a cold diner, men in state capitol conference rooms hours down the highway would still draft bathroom laws for adults. Your mother would still sneak taffeta and silk in your closet of fatigues and say she loved you. I wouldn't imagine your capillaries reassembling if you were still dying like the rest of us. I wouldn't tell a young ghost how far we've come, as if I believed how far we've come was enough. Wouldn't worry about who else gets more than 27 years. Your body wasn't a national average. You wanted more than safety. But I didn't wake sore in the jaw until I heard the numbers, until a nation, an entire nation, couldn't offer an alibi. Missy, my grief is righteous and problematic. It floods the last four walls holding you and begs for time. It hurls absurd reasons from a future, a handful of trans film stars humanizing a handful of trans characters, better doctors. My grief says it's helping, but argues only for me. The relief, the microsecond of relief when I achieve the unexpected and hope you find out. This means I forget. You're gone. This makes my grief a loose dam. Still, I talk to water that unrivered your body for dirt. I float fantasies of dirt that holds us up longer. I say to the water, if you were here, you'd be here. All right. And with that, thank you again, everybody, for attending. We have another one of these next week with Alina Stefanescu and Dylan Krieger, two poets I absolutely love. So be on the lookout. I'm taking June off, but in July I've got like 20 other events scheduled after July. So if you want to attend, go ahead. bluejawedsnake@gmail.com for questions or to get links or whatever. With that, thanks everybody for taking part, and again, to the readers, thanks so much for saying yes. And y'all have a good weekend.